when one look at York Timbers, it's quite important to understand the dynamics of the building construction sector. Just to put it in number terms, the total building and construction sector is about 351 billion rand in size, and of that, the construction sector amounts about 185 billion, and the total building, which refers to the residential, the non-residential, and the so-called unrecorded sector, is 167 billion rand. So of that total, the dynamics is quite interesting to understand. Materials made only about 60% of that 351 billion rand, and labour the rest. So labour is quite a critical component in terms of infrastructure and the so-called building sector, the total building sector market. Now, one that government really thinks about in terms of job creation, to focus at the sector to see if they can't create jobs in terms of that. In terms of materials, the 211 billion rand size market that York plays in, 84 billion of that is being sold directly to the big construction guys, with the rest of about 126 billion rand then sold through the major channels that York plays and operates in. And now the way to look at the market going forward is York critically analyze the building plans passed versus building plans completed. And if you want to look at the numbers going forward, we see there's a slight sideways movement in the terms of building plans passed, which is quite promising. It's not a negative decline anymore. And the way we think to look then, what is the forecast going forward in terms of the building plans in the pipeline? York looks at the net building numbers in terms of the future indications of what is coming down the pipeline. That figure should be in the region of, in the old days for sustainable growth, is about 74%, and currently it sits in the region of 45%. It's not negative. It's not a dark picture ahead of us. Although in terms of sustainable growth and bring it back to previous levels, that net building pipeline should be in the region of 74%. Then building companies and in the construction sector would go back to its previous levels. What drives that net building pipeline, however, is we've seen as the net mortgages rate, mortgages lent to the normal guy in the street, and then of course the prime overdraft rate. There's a direct correlation between the two, and it gives people the confidence and sentiment to go back into specifically the residential side of the market. In terms of infrastructure, we see it's not so dependent on that, but in the recorded and unrecorded sectors of the market, there's a direct correlation with the lending rates and the mortgage advantages from the banks. In terms of government spending and the recent budget announced by the minister, we see that the government is quite bullish in terms of additional residential units that we'd like to build for the affordable sector, where before in 2012 the unit was 120,000 units, which unfortunately seem to have come down to the levels of just over 80,000. And that, in looking forward, the government is projecting that they will take that base and lift it to 132,000 units, which is quite a positive lift. It's in the region of 50% additional units that government wishes to spend. But with that, they have also put additional infrastructure grants in place. It's not just about the house, it's also about the roads, the water, the sewerage, and all of these things that goes with a development around in terms of addressing that affordable market. A lot of infrastructure development is needed when you want to go and play in that sector. And I think government seems to have addressed all of those issues going forward.